Hey everyone, welcome to the Conditional Pro. So today in this video, we'll be learning what is a for loop and why and how we are using the for loop concept in our C# programming, right? So the for loop in C# is a control flow statement that allows code to be executed repeatedly based on a Boolean condition. So generally, the for loop statement controls the flow of an execution of any code or piece of code on the basis of a condition. So it is particularly useful when you know in advance how many times you want to execute a statement or a block of statement, right? So basically, for loop we are using if you want to show or display a collection of data on UI. At that moment you can use the for loop. Suppose for an example we want to display all the even numbers, right? Even numbers by using follow. Okay, if we want to display all the even numbers, then we can use the for loop concept. So let's understand how we can use that. So to create the basic syntax, we are using the keyword for to create a for loop syntax, right? So for then followed by the parenthesis. And in for loop, inside the parenthesis, we have three major parts which are separated by three or two semicolons. The first one is the initialization of the variable, right? Here, what we are doing, we are initializing the variable. The second one is the condition on the basis of which the execution will happen. And the third one is the iteration part, right? Or the iteration part, or we can say the increment or the decrement, the increment or the decrement part, right? Decrement or increment of the variable value will happen here. Then inside the curly braces, we have to put the code or piece of code that to be executed. The code that to be executed, right? In a semicolon. So you can see, so this is the basic syntax of for loop by using which we can do some functions or to display a collection of data, right? So our target here is to display all the even numbers. Now, initialization, the part of initialization is to initialize a variable with a initial value, with an initial value. Let me create a variable here, suppose counter, which is of type integer, which is type, which is of type integer, and I am assigning one initial value here. Suppose for counter, let me put 1 or let me put 0 for this variable. Okay, so what it is showing here, the variable counter is assigned but it is not used yet, right? So we'll use later on. Now we'll go for the condition part. This condition part will do, or as long as the condition will execute or the condition will be true, the execution will run. Otherwise the loop will exit from the execution of the code. Got it? Now let's do or apply some condition. Suppose the condition is counter, if the counter less than equal to, okay, so we want to display even numbers, let me put it up to 100, right? So up to 100, all the even numbers it will print. So we have to put here counter less than equal to 100. So when the counter is less than equal to 100, the code will execute, right? So as long as the counter is less than equal to 100, the code will execute. Now here, let me put or let me put the increment of the variable counter. If the counter initial value is 0, then the counter will increase by 1 by using this concept, that is plus plus, or it is same as the counter equal to counter plus counter plus 1, right? So this coding counter equal to counter plus 1 is same as the counter plus plus. So that is another operator we have, right? We can directly use the counter plus plus instead of this counter plus 1, so that it will increase the value of the counter variable by 1 at every loop execution. Got it? Now, next, so this is the counter 1 which will increase by value 1 at every execution. Now we can put the code here that to be executed at every execution. Let me put suppose console.writeLine. I want to show or display the value as value of counter at every execution, right? Let me put the counter variable here with this caption. The number is the counter value, right? With this caption it will show. So as long as the counter less than equal to 100, so I am getting some error here. So we can, so always this condition value returns a true or false value, right? So delete this space. Yeah, now it is fine. So the condition is always returns a true or false value. As long as the value is true, condition is true, the loop will execute. Otherwise, it will exit from the loop. Right. Now, let's run it, how it works. Let me put a space here just to look better. This is the string interpolation method. Sorry, this is the string concatenation method we are using here to show the values. You can see the number is showing from 0 to 100, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and up to 100. Got my point? So the increment happens here by one value at every execution, right? So this is all about, so here we are printing all the numbers 0 to 100. Now our target is to print all the even numbers. For that we can change the counter as 2. So this is the operator we are using to increase the value of the counter 2 at each execution. Let me run it. Plus equal to means at every time it will increase the value 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. You can see here every time it is increasing, or the value of counter increase by 2, 98, 100, 96, right? Now we got it, how we can display all the even numbers up to 100 from 0 to 100. Got it? So we are done with our task, our requirement to show all the even numbers up to 100 by using the for loop concept. Now let me do one thing. I want to show all the odd numbers here, right? So how we can do that? Let me use the if statement here. If the counter in percentage 2, it means it will return the reminder percentage 2 equal to 0, means this will give the even number. If we will keep it not equal to, then it will return us the odd number, right? It means the console, right? The odd number is the counter. Got it? We'll check one by one, not to worry. Now if another one, let me run it. So we're getting one error. I think we have done something wrong here. Yeah, so we have to put 1 equal to, yeah, not equal to 0. If it is not an even number, it will show the odd number. So the odd number is 1 to 100, right? Up to 100. It is showing all the odd numbers up to 100. Got it? What I have done here, if the counter percent is 2, the remainder is not equal to 0, then it will show the odd numbers. Got it? So by using the if statement also, we can manipulate the numbers. Got it? So now let's understand the steps of executions, how the execution happens here. So first, the execution happens from the initialization. The initialization of the value happens to the variable first, then it will go to the condition part. If the value, suppose 0 is less than or equal 100, then it will go inside the execution part, right, into the code or piece of code that to be executed. Suppose we have a counter value is 0 less than or equal 100, then it is true, then it go into the execution part. So let's understand with a bullet point to check the execution steps, right? So let me keep a bullet point at the for statement or for statement line. Now run it. If you run it, it will, the execution will watch at the line of bullet point. Now you can see here the execution stops here at the initialization part. Means the counter will be assigned with a 0 value first in the initialization step, then click on F10 to go the next step. Now it will go to the condition part, right? Now it will check the condition whether the 0 is less than or equal 100 or not. If you check the value of the counter, you can hover the mouse on the counter to check the value. To check the value, you can see here I'm checking the value in the counter and it is storing now 0, right? Now again click on F10 to go into the next step. Now it is checking percent 0 percentage 2 is not equal 0. Yes, is not equal 0. That's why it is exiting from the execution. Now it will go to the last parenthesis. Got my point? Again click on the F10. Now it is going to the increment part. It will, after the execution, it will go to the increment part, and if you will again click on F10, now it will hold the value as 1 because the increment happens in this step, right? Now it will check if 1 less than equal to 100, yes, then it will go to the execution part. Again it will check 1 percentage 2 is not equal to 0, yes, it is not equal to 0, so it is true, then it will go into the execution of the console.write line. You can see here console.write line, and the odd number will be shown as 1. Again let me execute it multiple times by clicking on F10. Now stop here to check what is the counter value here. That is, the counter value we have is currently 11, right? Now it will check 11 less than equal 100. Yes, this is also true. 11 is percentage 2 is not equal to 0. Then it will go into the execution part. Now the execution is done. So by this way, we can check the execution steps in CSAP. This is all about the for loop concept we have for today, and we are done with this topic. I hope it is helpful for you all. So thank you so much for watching this video. Bye bye.